Hey, rookie. Don't just stand there looking important. Someone like you should know your place on the first day. Captain Ethan Walker grabbed a coffee tray from the counter and shoved it into Maya Richardson's hands in front of the entire operations center. You're a black woman walking into a room full of commanders, Ethan sneered. But a uniform doesn't make someone a leader. Right now, you're just the person serving the people who actually matter. The room went silent. Then he pointed toward the conference table. And after the coffee, clean up the briefing room. Maybe you'll learn respect by doing the work nobody else wants. A few officers laughed. One of them added, "Careful, Captain. She might think that badge means she belongs at the table." Ethan smiled. Let her dream. Some people spend their whole lives trying to reach places they were never meant to stand. Maya slowly placed the tray down, hiding the pain behind calm eyes. They thought they had humiliated a powerless new officer. They had no idea they were disrespecting the woman who would soon decide their future. Every insult was being remembered. Every action was being documented. Stay until the end to discover the shocking truth they never saw coming. Comment your city and local time, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of justice, courage, and unexpected victories. The morning after her arrival, Commander Maya Richardson woke up before sunrise. For years, she had trained herself to wake before the world demanded anything from her. It was a habit formed during her earliest days in service, when nobody expected a young black woman from Atlanta to rise through the ranks and command respect in rooms where people had already decided she did not belong. She stood in front of the mirror inside her small apartment, adjusting the collar of her uniform. The reflection looking back at her was calm, focused, prepared. But behind that calm expression was a woman carrying years of memories. She remembered watching her mother work 2 jobs just to keep their family stable. She remembered the way strangers sometimes looked at them as if they had already judged their worth before hearing their names. Those moments shaped Maya. They did not make her bitter. They made her determined. She had spent 18 years building a career based on one belief. Leadership was not about making people fear you. It was about protecting people who had no power. That was exactly why she had accepted the assignment at the Chicago Federal Operations Center. Officially, she was listed as a temporary transfer officer. Unofficially, she had been sent by federal leadership to investigate deep concerns inside the unit. For months, complaints had reached headquarters. Employees claimed Captain Ethan Walker created a culture where people were afraid to speak. Promotions were allegedly influenced by personal loyalty instead of performance. Junior officers reported being humiliated in front of their colleagues. But complaints were only words. Maya needed proof. She needed to see the truth herself, and that was why she walked into the building without revealing her authority. She wanted to know who people truly were when they believed nobody important was watching. When Maya arrived at the operations center, she expected tension. She expected resistance. But she did not expect the open disrespect that came within minutes. Captain Ethan Walker had looked at her uniform, her identification card, and her quiet confidence. Then he made a decision. He underestimated her. After the coffee incident, Maya returned to the main operations floor. She expected Ethan to move on. Instead, he continued. "Richardson," Ethan called from across the room. Maya turned. "Yes, Captain?" He pointed toward a stack of folders on a nearby desk. "Those need to be organized before lunch." Maya looked at the folders. They appear to be active case files. Shouldn't the assigned analysts handle them? The room became quiet. For a second, Ethan looked surprised that she questioned him. Then he smiled. "There it is." Maya stayed silent. The new person arrives and already thinks she knows better. Several officers looked away, pretending not to listen. Ethan walked closer. "Listen carefully. Rank and experience matter here. You haven't earned the right to question how things work." Maya held his gaze. "I asked a procedural question, Captain." Ethan laughed. "A procedural question?" He looked around the room. "Did everyone hear that? First day here and she's already teaching us procedures." A few officers forced uncomfortable laughs. Maya lowered her eyes back to the folders. She picked them up, not because she was afraid, because she was watching. Every reaction, every person who laughed, every person who stayed silent, those details mattered. Later that afternoon, Maya entered the records room. It was a small, quiet space at the back of the facility. Dust covered several old cabinets. The room looked forgotten. Exactly the kind of place where people hid things they did not want discovered. As she organized documents, she noticed something strange. Several reports were missing from a case review folder. Not misplaced, removed. Maya carefully checked the file numbers. The missing pages were connected to internal complaints filed by former employees. Her expression changed slightly. Someone had deliberately erased parts of the record. That was the first real sign that the problems inside the unit were deeper than workplace arrogance. Someone had been protecting someone. Maya reached for her phone but stopped. Not yet. She needed more. She needed to understand the entire system, because one person like Ethan Walker could not hide this much without help. As she placed the folder back into the cabinet, she heard footsteps behind her. A voice spoke from the doorway. "You're not supposed to be looking at those." Maya turned. A man in his 50s stood there. His name badge read, Daniel Brooks. He had worked at the facility for more than 20 years. His expression was not angry. It was worried. Maya calmly closed the folder. "Why?" Daniel glanced toward the hallway before stepping inside. "Because people who ask too many questions around here usually don't stay long." For the first time that day, Maya noticed someone who was not laughing at her. Someone who understood. "Are you warning me?" Maya asked. Daniel hesitated. "I'm telling you what I wish someone told me years ago." The room became silent. "Be careful who you trust." Maya studied him. "Why are you telling me this?" Daniel looked at the folder in her hand. "Because you're the first person I've seen in a long time who actually looked at the problem instead of pretending it wasn't there." Before Maya could respond, Daniel walked away. But his final words stayed in her mind. "This place has secrets, and some people will do anything to keep them buried." Maya looked back at the missing reports. She already knew one thing. Her first day had revealed more than she expected, and Ethan Walker had no idea that every attempt to humiliate her was bringing her closer to the truth. The next morning, Maya Richardson arrived at the Chicago Federal Operations Center exactly 15 minutes before her scheduled shift. She expected another difficult day, but she also knew something important. People revealed themselves when they believed they had complete control, and Captain Ethan Walker still believed he controlled everything. As Maya entered the main operations floor, she noticed the atmosphere immediately. The room became quieter, not because people respected her, because they were watching to see how long the new officer would survive. Ethan sat behind his desk, drinking coffee and reviewing reports. He looked up and smiled. "Well, look who decided to come back." Maya stopped. "Good morning, Captain." Ethan leaned back. "I wasn't sure yesterday worked out for you." Maya looked at him calmly. "I completed every task assigned to me." "That's not what I meant." Ethan stood and walked toward her. "I was wondering if you understood something." Maya waited. "This unit has standards. People here earn their place." He looked around the room. Respect isn't given because someone walks in wearing a uniform. Several officers watched the conversation. Maya knew exactly what he was trying to do. He was not correcting her. He was reminding everyone that he wanted her beneath him. "I understand that, Captain," Maya replied. Ethan smiled. "Good. Then you'll have no problem proving yourself." He handed her a large stack of files. "These need to be reviewed, scanned, and organized." Maya glanced at the files. "This appears to be work assigned to the investigation department." Ethan's smile disappeared slightly. "Are you refusing?" "No." "Then stop asking questions and do the work." The room went silent. Maya accepted the files, but inside her mind, she was making another note, another attempt to establish dominance, another example of how Ethan treated people he believed had less power. Later that afternoon, Maya sat in the records area reviewing documents. The files were supposed to contain routine administrative information, but the more she read, the more unusual things became. Several complaints had similar patterns. Employees reported being ignored after raising concerns. Some mentioned unfair treatment. Others described being publicly embarrassed by supervisors. But every complaint ended the same way. No action taken. No investigation opened. No resolution provided. Maya frowned. This was not a few isolated incidents. This was a system. A system designed to protect certain people. While she continued reviewing the records, someone placed a folder beside her. She looked up. It was Daniel Brooks. "Careful," he whispered. Maya glanced at the folder. "What is it?" "Something you probably shouldn't have found." She opened it slightly. Inside were old evaluation reports. Several officers had received excellent reviews despite multiple complaints against them. "This doesn't make sense," Maya said. Daniel nodded. "That's what I thought too." "Then why didn't you report it?" Daniel looked toward the hallway. "Because people who challenged Ethan Walker usually ended up transferred." Maya studied him. "How many?" Daniel lowered his voice. "More than you would believe." Before Maya could ask another question, footsteps approached. Daniel immediately stepped away. Ethan appeared at the entrance. His eyes moved between Maya and Daniel. "What's going on?" Daniel quickly answered, "Just helping organize records." Ethan looked at Maya. "Did I ask for assistance?" "No, Captain." "Then maybe you should focus on your own assignments." Daniel walked away. Maya noticed something. For the first time, Ethan looked nervous. Not angry, nervous. He had seen something. Or he was afraid they had seen something. That small reaction told Maya more than any document could. There was something Ethan wanted hidden. That evening, Ethan called a meeting with several senior officers. Maya was not invited, but she was close enough to hear voices through the glass conference room. "She needs to understand how things work here," Ethan said. Another officer laughed. "She's been here 2 days and already acting like she's above everyone." Maya stood quietly outside. She could have entered. She could have reminded them that every conversation in the building mattered, but she didn't, because she needed them comfortable. She needed them confident. Confidence made careless people reveal themselves. Inside the room, Ethan continued. "Tomorrow, we test her." One officer asked, "What do you mean?" Ethan smiled. "We give her responsibility she can't handle." Maya walked away before hearing more, but she already understood. Ethan was no longer just trying to embarrass her. He was preparing to create a reason to remove her. The following morning, Maya received an unexpected assignment. A critical internal report had to be delivered to headquarters. The deadline was impossible. The information was incomplete, and the person responsible for preparing it was Maya. When she questioned the missing sections, Ethan gave a simple answer. "You wanted to prove you belong here." He placed the folder on her desk. "Now prove it." Maya opened the report. Immediately, she noticed something strange. Several pages had been replaced. Numbers changed. Dates altered. Someone had modified the information before giving it to her. It was a trap. If she submitted the report, she would be blamed. If she refused, Ethan would accuse her of being incapable. For the first time, Maya realized the situation was bigger than disrespect. Ethan was trying to destroy her reputation before anyone knew who she really was. She closed the folder slowly. A small smile appeared on her face, because Ethan had just made his biggest mistake. He had underestimated the one person in the building who knew exactly how to find the truth, and now, Maya was ready to find out who else was helping him. The following morning, Maya Richardson walked into the Chicago Federal Operations Center carrying the same calm expression she had worn since her first day. But inside, she knew the situation had changed. Ethan Walker was no longer simply trying to make her uncomfortable. He was trying to create a failure. And people who wanted someone to fail usually made one mistake. They became predictable. Maya entered the operations room and saw the altered report sitting on her desk. The same folder Ethan had handed her the day before. The same folder containing incorrect information that could damage her credibility. She opened it carefully. Several officers watched from their desks. They expected frustration. They expected panic. Instead, Maya calmly picked up a pen and began reviewing every page. After 20 minutes, Ethan walked toward her. "Still working on that?" Maya looked up. "Yes, Captain." He glanced at the documents. "Strange. Most people finish simple assignments faster." A few officers smiled. Maya remained quiet. Ethan leaned closer. "Maybe this position is more difficult than you expected." Maya closed the folder. "Actually, Captain, I believe the difficulty comes from the information provided." The room became silent. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean?" Maya looked directly at him. "It means some sections of this report do not match the original records." For a brief moment, Ethan's expression changed. Only for a second, but Maya noticed. Surprise, then concern, then anger. "You're accusing someone of altering documents?" "I'm pointing out inconsistencies." Ethan smiled coldly. "Careful, Officer Richardson. Making accusations without proof is a serious mistake." Maya nodded. "I agree." She pushed the folder toward him. "That is why I have not made one." Ethan stared at her. He expected her to become emotional. He expected her to defend herself. Instead, she remained professional, and that frustrated him more than anything. "Complete the report," Ethan said firmly. "Or?" The question was simple, but it caught him off guard. Ethan looked around. Everyone was listening. "Or you prove you're not ready for this assignment." Maya picked up the folder. "I understand." Ethan walked away with a satisfied smile. He believed he had won. He did not know Maya had already started building the timeline of what happened. Every altered page, every missing signature, every person who had access to the file. That afternoon, Maya visited the records department again. Daniel Brooks was there organizing old documents. When he saw her, he immediately understood something had happened. "They tried something, didn't they?" Maya looked at him. "Why do you say that?" "Because that's what they do." Daniel placed a document box on the table. "They don't attack people directly at first." He lowered his voice. They create situations where people fail, then they use the failure as proof that the person never belonged. Maya looked at the box. What happened to the others? Daniel hesitated. Some quit. And the others? Transferred. The answer carried weight. Maya opened the box. Inside were old employee evaluations, complaints, and internal memos. Many names had been crossed out. Many stories had disappeared, but one thing connected them all. Every person who challenged Ethan had their career damaged afterward. Maya slowly closed the box. How long has this been happening? Daniel looked down. Years. Silence filled the room. For the first time, Maya saw sadness in Daniel's face. Not fear. Regret. I should have done more, he said. Maya looked at him. You are doing something now. Daniel shook his head. You don't understand. People like Ethan survive because everyone tells themselves staying quiet is safer. Maya replied softly. Silence protects the person causing the harm. Daniel looked at her. Those words stayed with him. Later that evening, Ethan called Maya into his office. She entered and saw two other senior officers sitting there. A setup. Ethan pointed to a chair. Sit down. Maya remained standing. Is there a problem, Captain? One of the officers opened a file. We received concerns about your performance. Maya looked at Ethan. My performance? Yes, Ethan said. You appear resistant to direction, you question assignments, you create tension among the team. Maya almost smiled. They were using her professionalism against her. Ethan continued. Some people simply struggle with authority. Maya looked around the room. And who reported these concerns? Nobody answered. That silence told her everything. The complaints were not real. They were created. Ethan leaned forward. This is your opportunity to correct your attitude. Maya calmly replied, I appreciate the feedback. Ethan looked surprised. That's it? Yes. You don't want to defend yourself? Maya held his gaze. Truth does not need anger to survive. For a moment, nobody spoke. Ethan's expression hardened. He did not like that answer, because deep down he understood something. Maya was not reacting because she was weak. She was waiting. After leaving the office, Maya walked through the empty hallway. She stopped near the security camera. She looked directly at it. She knew every conversation, every meeting, and every action could become important. Then her phone vibrated. A secure message appeared. It was from federal headquarters. Only one sentence was visible. Your observation period has revealed significant concerns. Continue gathering evidence. Maya locked the phone. The investigation was officially moving forward. But before she could expose the truth, Ethan made his next move. The next morning, the entire unit would be called into an emergency briefing, and Maya would discover that Ethan was preparing to blame her for something she did not do. The emergency briefing began at exactly 8 a.m. Every officer in the Chicago Federal Operations Center was required to attend. Maya Richardson entered the conference room and immediately felt the tension. Everyone was there. Captain Ethan Walker stood at the front of the room with a serious expression. A projector displayed a single title, Performance Review and Operational Concerns. Maya already knew. This was not a review. It was a public attempt to damage her reputation. Ethan looked around the room. Over the past few days, we have welcomed a new officer into our unit. His eyes moved toward Maya. Unfortunately, not every transition goes smoothly. Several officers looked uncomfortable. Maya remained silent. Ethan continued. Our team depends on discipline, cooperation, and trust. When someone refuses to follow established procedures, it affects everyone. He clicked the remote. A list of complaints appeared on the screen. Maya recognized the wording immediately. They were the same accusations from his office. Failure to adapt. Difficulty accepting direction. Creating unnecessary conflict. Ethan turned toward her. Officer Richardson, would you like to explain yourself? The room waited. Maya slowly stood. I believe every concern deserves to be reviewed fairly. Ethan smiled. Of course. But I also believe concerns should be based on accurate information. The smile disappeared from his face. Maya sat down. She had said enough. Ethan expected anger. He expected a confrontation. Instead, she gave him nothing. That frustrated him, because his plan depended on making her look unstable. After the meeting ended, Ethan approached several officers. Maya watched from a distance. He was not talking about procedures. He was controlling the story. By lunchtime, rumors had already spread. Some officers believed Maya was difficult. Others believed she thought she was better than everyone else. But a few people started questioning Ethan because they noticed something strange. Nobody could explain exactly what Maya had done wrong. The accusations existed, but the evidence did not. Later that afternoon, Daniel Brooks found Maya reviewing documents. You knew that meeting was coming, he said. Maya looked up. I suspected. Daniel shook his head. You're different from the others. How? They fought back immediately. Maya looked at him. And what happened? Daniel Sahil. They gave Ethan exactly what he wanted. Maya nodded. He wanted an emotional reaction. Exactly. Daniel sat across from her. But why are you staying quiet? Maya looked through the window toward the operations floor. Because people show their true character when they believe they have won. Daniel studied her carefully. For the first time, he wondered who exactly Maya Richardson was. There was something about her, the way she analyzed situations, the way people seemed to underestimate her, the way she never appeared afraid. That evening, Ethan made another move. He assigned Maya to review a large number of outdated case files before the end of the week, a task that normally required several employees. Maya looked at the assignment. This workload is impossible within that timeline. Ethan crossed his arms. So you're refusing again? No. Then complete it. Maya accepted the files. But this time, Ethan made a mistake. He gave her access to records he never expected her to examine. As Maya worked through the documents, she discovered something disturbing. Several disciplinary investigations had been closed without proper review. Witness statements were missing. Evidence logs were incomplete. And one name appeared repeatedly. Captain Ethan Walker. But he was never listed as responsible, only as the supervisor who approved the final decisions. Maya leaned back in her chair. The pattern was becoming clear. Ethan was not just arrogant. He had protected a system that benefited him. Suddenly, her phone received a message. Unknown number. One sentence. Stop looking before they make you disappear like the others. Maya stared at the screen. It was the first direct threat. Someone knew what she was doing. She looked around the room. Everyone appeared normal. But now she knew something else. Someone inside the unit was watching her. The next morning, Maya arrived to find her desk disturbed. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was broken. But one important thing was missing. A handwritten note she had made about the altered reports. Someone had searched her workspace. Maya stood quietly. She did not call security. She did not accuse anyone. Instead, she looked at the security camera above her desk. Then she smiled slightly, because whoever searched her desk had just confirmed one thing. They were afraid. That afternoon, Daniel approached her with a worried expression. I need to tell you something. Maya looked at him. What? Daniel lowered his voice. I found an old complaint file that was never entered into the official system. Maya became serious. Whose complaint? Daniel hesitated. A former officer named Sarah Mitchell. What happened to her? Daniel looked toward the hallway. She claimed Ethan forced her to change a report. After she refused, she was transferred within a week. Maya felt a wave of anger. Not because she was personally attacked, because she realized how many people had suffered before her. How did you find this? Daniel placed a small envelope on the table. Someone left it in my locker this morning. Maya opened it. Inside was a copy of Sarah Mitchell's original statement. At the bottom was one sentence written by hand. She was not the first. She will not be the last. Maya looked at Daniel. The message was clear. Someone inside the unit wanted the truth revealed, but they were too afraid to stand publicly. As the day ended, Ethan stood in his office watching Maya through the glass wall. He believed he was close to removing her. He believed he had cornered her, but he did not understand something important. Every attempt to silence Maya was creating more evidence, and soon, the entire unit would learn the truth Ethan had spent years hiding. The envelope left inside Daniel Brooks' locker changed everything. For days, Maya Richardson had suspected that the problems inside the Chicago Federal Operations Center were deeper than one arrogant captain. Now she had proof that someone else had been trying to expose the truth long before she arrived. That evening, Maya stayed late in the office. The building was almost empty. The usual noise of conversations and footsteps had disappeared. Only the sound of the security cameras and the distant hum of the lights remained. She placed Sarah Mitchell's complaint on the table and carefully reviewed every detail. The handwriting, the dates, the signatures, everything matched. But one thing bothered her. The complaint had never officially existed. Someone had intentionally removed it from the system. Maya picked up her phone and sent a secure message to headquarters. Evidence confirms possible suppression of internal investigations, requesting authorization for deeper review. Within minutes, a response arrived. Approved. Continue discreet observation. Do not reveal your authority. Maya locked the phone. She knew the hardest part of the assignment was not collecting evidence. It was waiting. Because every day she waited, more people could be harmed. The next morning, Ethan Walker arrived at the office with a new attitude. He walked through the operations floor like someone who believed victory was already guaranteed. He He stopped at Maya's desk. Officer Richardson. Maya looked up. Yes, Captain? I heard you stayed late last night. Maya calmly replied. I was completing my assigned work. Ethan smiled. Always working. There was something different about his tone. Less mocking, more suspicious. Just remember, Ethan continued. People who try too hard to prove themselves usually have something to hide. Maya looked directly at him. Interesting statement, Captain. What is? Usually people who fear being questioned say things like that. The nearby officers became quiet. Ethan's expression tightened. For a second, his confidence disappeared. Then he walked away. Maya watched him leave. She had learned something important. Ethan was not only arrogant, he was afraid. Later that day, Daniel approached Maya carefully. We need to talk. They walked into a private records room. Daniel closed the door. I found something else. Maya looked at him. What? Daniel pulled out an old photograph. It showed a group of officers standing during a leadership ceremony several years earlier. Maya looked at the picture. Why is this important? Daniel pointed to a man standing beside Ethan. That man. Maya studied the image. Who is he? Deputy Director Thomas Reed. Maya waited. He was the person who approved every transfer request involving employees who complained about Ethan. Maya's expression changed. So Ethan had protection. Daniel nodded. For years, the discovery explained everything. Ethan had not survived because nobody noticed. He survived because people with authority chose not to act. Maya looked at the photograph. This isn't just one person. No. Daniel looked down. It's a culture. Those words stayed with Maya because that was exactly what headquarters suspected. Not just misconduct. A system built around silence. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. An officer named Olivia Carter approached Maya. She was one of the people who had laughed during the coffee incident on Maya's first day. Now, she looked uncomfortable. Can I speak with you? Maya nodded. They stepped away from the others. Olivia looked embarrassed. I owe you an apology. Maya remained quiet. For what? For the first day. Olivia looked down. I laughed. Maya waited. I thought you were just another new officer who didn't understand how things worked. And now? Olivia took a breath. Now I think I was wrong. Maya studied her. What changed? Olivia looked around before answering. I saw Ethan destroy people before. She paused. I just never thought I would see it happen to someone who didn't deserve it. Maya realized something. Fear had kept many people silent, but silence was beginning to break. Before Olivia left, she said something important. There are more people who want to talk. They're just scared. Maya nodded. Then they need to know they're not alone. That evening, Ethan made his most aggressive move yet. He called a private meeting with several senior officers. This time, Maya was not invited, but Daniel managed to overhear part of the conversation. The plan was clear. Ethan wanted to create a formal complaint against Maya. He wanted to claim she had violated procedures and attempted to undermine command. His goal was simple: remove her before she could expose him. The next morning, Maya received an official notice. She was ordered to appear before a review panel. The accusation was written clearly: failure to follow leadership structure and inappropriate conduct. For the first time, Maya felt the weight of the moment. Not because she was afraid, because she knew Ethan was preparing to make his final move. He believed he was about to eliminate the problem, but he still did not know the truth. He did not know the person he was trying to remove was the person sent to decide his future. As Maya walked toward the review room, Daniel stopped her. Are you going to tell them who you really are? Maya looked at him. Not yet. Why? She glanced back toward the operations floor. Because I need them to understand something. What? Maya answered quietly. I need them to see who they become when they think nobody powerful is watching. Daniel finally understood. Maya had never been fighting to prove herself. She had been gathering the truth. And Ethan Walker had just given her the perfect opportunity to expose everything. The review room was colder than Maya Richardson expected. Not because of the temperature, because of the silence. 5 senior officers sat across from her with serious expressions. In front of them were folders, printed reports, and statements that were supposed to represent the truth. But Maya knew better. She had seen how easily facts could be manipulated when the wrong people controlled the system. Captain Ethan Walker sat at the end of the table. Unlike everyone else, he looked confident, almost relaxed, because for the first time since Maya arrived, he believed he had complete control. Officer Richardson, the panel leader began, this review concerns several complaints regarding your conduct during your first week at this facility. Maya listened carefully. No anger, no frustration, only attention. The panel leader continued. You have been accused of refusing reasonable instructions, challenging superior officers, and creating unnecessary conflict within the team. Maya looked at the documents in front of her. The accusations were carefully written. Professional. Convincing. That was what made them dangerous. Ethan leaned forward. "This is not personal, Officer Richardson." Maya looked at him. "Of course not, Captain." He smiled. "We simply need officers who understand teamwork." Maya almost laughed. The same man who had publicly humiliated her for days was now pretending this was about teamwork. The panel leader turned toward her. "Do you deny these allegations?" Maya took a moment before answering. "I deny that they represent the complete situation." Ethan immediately interrupted. "Meaning?" "Meaning context matters." One officer looked annoyed. "Officer Richardson, this is not the time to give explanations." Maya calmly replied. "Then it is the perfect time to ask why explanations were never requested before these accusations were created." The room became quiet. Ethan's expression changed, only slightly, but Maya noticed. He did not expect her to remain calm. He expected fear. After the meeting, Ethan walked beside her in the hallway. "You should have accepted the warning." Maya stopped. "What warning?" "The opportunity to fix your attitude." Maya looked at him. "You mean the opportunity to accept blame for something I didn't do?" Ethan stepped closer. People who survive in this business know when to stay quiet. Maya held his gaze. "And people who abuse power usually believe silence means agreement." For a moment, Ethan said nothing. Then he smiled. "You still don't understand where you are." Maya turned away. "No, Captain." She paused. "I understand exactly where I am." She walked away, but Ethan was more determined than ever. That afternoon, he called another meeting. This time, he wanted witnesses. He wanted everyone to see Maya as the problem. The entire operations floor received a message. Mandatory attendance. When Maya entered the briefing room, every seat was filled. Ethan stood at the front. "Today, we address an issue affecting this unit." He looked directly at Maya. Professional respect. Maya noticed several employees looking uncomfortable. Some avoided eye contact. Others looked angry. Not at her. At him. Ethan continued. "Certain individuals arrive here believing their previous experience makes them special." He walked slowly across the room. "They believe rules don't apply to them." Maya understood. This was not just an attack. It was a performance. He wanted everyone to choose sides. Then Ethan displayed another document. "This report shows repeated resistance to command structure." The room remained silent. Maya looked at the paper. Another false narrative, another attempt to create a record. But before she could respond, something unexpected happened. Olivia Carter stood up. "Captain." Everyone turned. Ethan looked surprised. "Yes?" Olivia took a breath. "I have a question." "Go ahead." "Who verified this report?" Ethan frowned. "What?" "Who verified the information before it was submitted?" The room became tense. Ethan stared at her. "That's not your concern." Olivia continued. "I think it is." For the first time, someone challenged him publicly. Ethan's face hardened. "Be careful, Officer Carter." Olivia looked down briefly, but she did not sit. Because she had finally realized something. Fear had protected Ethan for years. But fear only worked when people accepted it. Maya watched quietly. Another person was finding her voice. Then Daniel Brooks entered the room. Everyone looked surprised. Daniel was not usually someone who spoke during meetings. He held a folder in his hands. "Captain Walker." Ethan turned. "What is it?" Daniel walked forward. "I believe this discussion requires additional information." Ethan's expression changed. "Daniel, don't." But Daniel continued. He placed the folder on the table. "These are copies of previous complaints that were never officially entered." The room froze. Several officers looked at Ethan. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked. Daniel answered calmly. "What I should have done years ago." Ethan grabbed the folder. "You have no idea what you're risking." Daniel looked at him. Neither did the people whose careers were destroyed. The atmosphere changed instantly. For the first time, Ethan was not controlling the room. He was defending himself. Maya knew this was the turning point, but she also knew she could not reveal everything yet. Not until the right moment. That evening, Ethan made one final attempt. He contacted the review panel privately and demanded immediate action against Maya. He claimed she was creating division. He claimed she was dangerous for the unit. He believed that if he moved quickly enough, she would lose before anyone discovered who she really was. The next morning, Maya received the official decision. A formal hearing had been scheduled. The accusation, Officer Maya Richardson is recommended for removal due to misconduct and failure to follow command. She read the document carefully. Then she folded it. Daniel looked worried. "They're really trying to remove you." Maya nodded. "Yes. What are you going to do?" Maya looked toward the operations building, toward the people who had laughed at her, toward the people who had stayed silent, toward Ethan Walker, who still believed he had won. I'm going to let them finish what they started. Daniel looked confused. Why? Maya answered quietly, because when the truth finally comes out, I want everyone to remember exactly what happened. She walked away holding the removal notice. Ethan thought he had pushed her to the edge. He thought he had finally trapped her. But he did not know the next meeting would not be about removing Maya Richardson. It would be about exposing Captain Ethan Walker, and the person entering that room would change everything. The hearing room was filled before Maya Richardson arrived. Every senior officer from the Chicago Federal Operations Center was present. Captain Ethan Walker stood near the front of the room, adjusting his uniform and speaking quietly with the review panel. He looked confident, almost victorious. To everyone watching, this appeared to be the final step. The difficult new officer would be removed. The problem would disappear, and Ethan Walker would continue leading the unit exactly as he always had. But Ethan made one mistake. He believed the story he created was stronger than the truth. Maya entered the room carrying a single folder. No large stack of documents. No dramatic expression. No anger. She simply walked to her seat and waited. Ethan looked at her and smiled. You still seem calm. Maya looked back. Should I be something else? Ethan laughed softly. Most people would be nervous right now. Maya nodded. Most people would. Those words bothered him, because Maya did not sound like someone who was losing. The review panel leader called the meeting to order. Today, we are here to determine whether Officer Maya Richardson violated operational standards and should be removed from this unit. Maya listened quietly. Ethan presented the accusations one by one. He spoke carefully, professionally. He described Maya as someone who refused authority, questioned leadership, and created tension among employees. To someone who did not know the truth, his argument sounded reasonable. That was exactly why Ethan had survived for so long. He did not act like a villain. He acted like a leader. When he finished, he turned toward Maya. Officer Richardson, you have the opportunity to respond. The room became silent. Maya slowly stood. For a moment, nobody knew what she would say. Then she looked at Ethan. Before I respond, I would like to ask one question. The panel leader nodded. Go ahead. Maya turned toward Ethan. Captain Walker, during my first week here, did you personally assign me tasks outside my official responsibilities? Ethan hesitated. Some basic orientation tasks, yes. Did you order me to serve coffee during a senior leadership meeting? The room became uncomfortable. Ethan shifted slightly. That was an informal request. Did you instruct me to clean the conference room afterward? Ethan looked annoyed. I was helping you understand the culture of this unit. Maya nodded. Thank you. Ethan frowned. For what? For confirming what happened. A few officers exchanged looks. Maya continued, but those moments are not why we are here today. She opened her folder. Those moments simply revealed the character of this workplace. Ethan leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting? Maya looked around the room. I am suggesting that this hearing was never about my performance. Silence. It was about removing someone who started asking questions. Ethan immediately responded. That is an accusation. Maya nodded. Yes. She placed several documents on the table, and unlike the accusations made against me, these are supported by evidence. The room changed. The panel members picked up the documents. Inside were copies of missing complaints, altered reports, unapproved transfers, records showing employees who challenged Ethan had been removed from the unit. Ethan's confidence began to disappear. Where did you get those? Maya looked at him. From records that should never have been hidden. The panel leader examined the documents carefully. Captain Walker, can you explain this? Ethan looked around. For the first time, he did not have an immediate answer. These documents are incomplete. Maya responded calmly. Exactly. Everyone looked at her. They are incomplete because important pages were removed. The room went completely silent. Daniel Brooks stepped forward. I can confirm that. Ethan looked at him with disbelief. Daniel. Daniel shook his head. I stayed quiet for years. His voice became stronger. But I won't stay quiet anymore. Olivia Carter also stood. I can confirm that employees were afraid to report problems. Another officer slowly raised his hand. I can too. Then another. And another. One by one, the people who had remained silent began speaking. Ethan looked around the room. The same room where people once laughed when Maya carried coffee. The same room where he believed nobody would challenge him. Now, everyone was watching him. But Maya was not finished. She reached into her folder and removed one final document. The panel leader looked at it. What is this? Maya answered. The authorization letter for this investigation. Ethan froze. Investigation? Maya looked directly at him. Yes. The door behind the panels suddenly opened. A federal representative entered the room. Everyone stood. The representative walked forward and placed an official document on the table. Then he spoke. Everyone in this room, I would like to introduce the person who has been overseeing this evaluation from the beginning. He turned toward Maya. Commander Maya Richardson. The entire room went silent. Ethan stared at her. The color drained from his face. No. Maya stood. The woman he had ordered to carry coffee. The woman he had told to learn her place. The woman he tried to remove. Was not a powerless transfer officer. She was the new director of operations assigned to evaluate the entire unit. The federal representative continued. Commander Richardson was appointed to review leadership practices, employee treatment, and operational integrity within this facility. Nobody moved. Ethan looked back at all the moments he had underestimated her. The coffee tray, the insults, the assignments, the threats. Every single one had been recorded. Every single one had become evidence. Maya looked at him. Captain Walker, you spent a week trying to prove that I did not belong here. She paused. But you never stopped to ask why I was here. Ethan had no response. For the first time, he was the person standing powerless in the room. Maya looked around at the officers. This investigation was never about one person. Her voice remained calm. It was about a culture that allowed disrespect to become normal. The room stayed silent, because everyone finally understood. The woman they thought they could control had been watching the entire time, and now the truth was impossible to hide. The silence inside the hearing room lasted several seconds. Nobody knew what to say. The same people who had watched Maya Richardson carry coffee on her first day were now sitting across from the person who had the authority to decide the future of the entire unit. Captain Ethan Walker looked completely different. The confidence was gone. The arrogance was gone. For the first time since Maya arrived, he looked like someone who understood the consequences of his own actions. But Maya did not feel satisfaction. She felt responsibility, because this was never about embarrassing Ethan. It was about making sure the truth could no longer be ignored. The federal representative placed additional files on the table. These documents contained the results of the preliminary investigation. The panel members opened them carefully. Inside were months of collected evidence, employee statements, security footage, transfer records, altered reports. Everything Ethan believed had been hidden forever was now sitting in front of everyone. One panel member looked up. Captain Walker. Several employees reported similar behavior patterns. Ethan tried to recover. Those employees were difficult. Some had performance issues. Maya looked at him, and that is exactly the problem. Everyone turned toward her. When someone challenges a system, the easiest way to silence them is to make people believe they were the problem. She opened another file. Sarah Mitchell filed a complaint regarding unauthorized changes to an official report. Ethan immediately interrupted. That complaint was dismissed. Maya nodded. Yes. She looked at the panel, because it was never properly investigated. The room became tense. The panel leader continued reading. Captain Walker, did you approve Sarah Mitchell's transfer request 1 week after this complaint? Ethan remained silent. That silence answered the question. Maya continued. And she was not the only one. She presented more names, more cases, more people whose careers had been damaged after speaking up. The pattern was undeniable. Ethan had not created one mistake. He had created a system where people learned that silence was safer than honesty. Daniel Brooks stepped forward. His voice was steady. I worked here for 20 years. Everyone looked at him. I watched talented people leave because they believed nobody would listen. He looked toward Ethan. I convinced myself staying quiet protected my career. Daniel paused, but all it did was allow the problem to continue. Maya looked at him with respect, because speaking the truth after years of fear required courage. Then Olivia Carter spoke. I laughed when Commander Richardson arrived. Her voice became emotional. I thought she was just another person trying to enter a place where she didn't belong. She looked at Maya. I was wrong. Maya nodded. Growth begins when people are willing to admit they were wrong. The hearing continued for several hours. Every piece of evidence destroyed another part of Ethan's defense. The coffee incident, the unfair assignments, the false performance complaints, the attempted removal. None of it was isolated. It all showed the same pattern. A leader who used authority to protect himself instead of serving others. Finally, the panel leader closed the final folder. Captain Walker, do you have anything else to add? Ethan sat quietly. For the first time, he had no strategy, no explanation, no way to redirect blame. He looked at Maya. You planned this from the beginning. Maya shook her head. No. She paused. You did. Ethan looked confused. Every decision you made showed exactly who you were. Her voice remained calm. I did not create the evidence, Captain Walker. I simply refused to ignore it. Those words affected the room more than anger ever could, because everyone understood. Maya had not defeated Ethan through revenge. She defeated him through patience and truth. After the hearing concluded, the official decision was announced. Captain Ethan Walker was immediately removed from his leadership position pending further investigation. Deputy Director Thomas Reed was also placed under review for failing to address repeated complaints. Several officers received disciplinary action for participating in harassment and intimidation. But Maya also made one thing clear. This unit will not become a place where people are afraid to speak. She stood before the entire operations center days later. The atmosphere was completely different from her first day. No laughter, no whispers, no disrespect, only attention. Leadership is not proven by how many people follow orders, Maya said. It is proven by how many people feel safe enough to tell the truth. Everyone listened. The badge, the title, and the position mean nothing if we forget the humanity of the people standing beside us. Daniel watched from the back of the room. He remembered the first day. The coffee tray, the insults, the silence. Now he saw something completely different, a unit beginning to change. After the meeting, Olivia approached Maya. I still feel terrible about that first day. Maya smiled. Why? Because I judged you before knowing you. Maya looked at the people working around them. That is something many people do. Olivia nodded, but not everyone admits it. Maya smiled. And that is where change begins. Outside the building, the city continued moving. People walked past without knowing what had happened inside. They would never know about the quiet battle between arrogance and dignity. They would never know about the woman who was underestimated, tested, and humiliated. But they would eventually see the results, because the greatest victory was not removing one person. It was changing a culture. And Ethan Walker's biggest mistake was believing that Maya Richardson needed his approval. She never did. She only needed the truth. Several months after the investigation at the Chicago Federal Operations Center, the building looked different. Not because the walls had changed, not because the equipment had changed, because the people inside had changed. The same hallways where Maya Richardson had once walked carrying a coffee tray were now filled with something that had been missing for years. Respect. Employees no longer lowered their voices when they passed supervisors. Junior officers no longer felt afraid to report concerns. And leadership meetings were no longer places where people were forced to stay silent. Commander Maya Richardson stood near the entrance of the operations center one morning, watching officers begin their shifts. She remembered her first day, the cold expressions, the whispers, the laughter, the way people looked at her and decided they knew her worth before hearing her story. But Maya also remembered something else. She remembered choosing not to let their judgment change who she was, because dignity was not something other people could give or take away. It was something a person carried within themselves. After Ethan Walker was removed, the official investigation continued. The findings confirmed years of misconduct. Several leadership failures were documented. Policies were rewritten. New reporting systems were created to protect employees who spoke up. Most importantly, the culture began to change. Not overnight. Not perfectly. But honestly, one afternoon, Daniel Brooks visited Maya's office. He carried a small box in his hands. What is that? Maya asked. Daniel placed it on her desk. Something I should have thrown away years ago. Maya opened the box. Inside were old documents, notes, and photographs from his years at the facility. She looked at him. Why keep these? Daniel smiled sadly. Because part of me always believed someone would eventually need to know the truth. Maya looked through the papers. You were waiting for someone brave enough to listen. Daniel shook his head. No. He looked at her. I was waiting for someone brave enough to stay calm when everyone else wanted to fight. Maya smiled. That was something she had learned throughout her career. Justice was not always loud. Sometimes justice looked like patience. Sometimes it looked like collecting facts while others were celebrating too early. Sometimes it looked like refusing to become the person who hurt you. Later that week, Maya attended a ceremony where new officers were welcomed into the unit. She stood before them wearing the same uniform she had worn on her first day. But now everyone knew what that uniform represented. Not power, responsibility. She looked at the new officers. Many people believe leadership begins when others start listening to you. She paused. But real leadership begins when you learn how to listen to others. The room remained quiet. These badges do not make us better than anyone else. She touched the badge on her uniform. They remind us that people trust us with something bigger than ourselves. Maya looked across the room. Never judge someone by the position they hold today. Her voice became softer. Because you never know what they have survived. You never know what they have achieved. And you never know what role they may play tomorrow. The officers listened carefully, because everyone in that room knew the story. They knew about the woman who was told to serve. They knew about the woman who was underestimated. They knew about the woman who never needed to announce her power because her actions revealed it. After the ceremony, Olivia approached Maya. Commander. Maya turned. Yes? Olivia smiled. I wanted to thank you. For what? For giving people like me a chance to become better. Maya looked at her. Everyone deserves the opportunity to learn. Olivia nodded, but not everyone gives that opportunity after being treated badly. Maya thought about that. She could have punished everyone who laughed at her. She could have used her authority to make them feel the same humiliation they caused her. But that would not have created change. It would have only created another cycle. Instead, she chose something stronger: accountability, education, a better future. That evening, Maya stood outside the building as the sun disappeared behind the city skyline. She thought about Ethan Walker. She thought about the people who had stayed silent. She thought about the moment when everyone discovered who she truly was. But the biggest lesson was not that Maya had power. The biggest lesson was that she had character before she ever had authority. Anyone can act powerful when people are watching. True character appears when someone believes they can treat others without consequences. Ethan showed who he was when he thought Maya had no influence. Maya showed who she was when she had every reason to seek revenge. And that difference changed everything. The woman they believed was beneath them became the person who rebuilt the place they damaged. The officer they ordered to serve them became the leader who taught them what service truly meant. Because respect is not earned by demanding others bow. It is earned by remembering that every person has value. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks today is the person who creates the greatest change tomorrow. True dignity does not come from titles, positions, or the opinions of others. It comes from staying strong when people underestimate you and choosing integrity over revenge. The way we treat others reveals who we truly are. Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more inspiring stories about courage, justice, and hope.